Hey guys, welcome back to the Turnbuckle Debate, brought to you by the Turnbuckle Tavern. My name is Sneed.
I'm Chad.
And I am Tom, a.k.a. the OG Fig Kid. Find me on Twitter and Instagram.
Hell yeah.
That's it.
That's it.
Yeah, man. Well, we're back at it with another round of debate. Last week we had Sheena on from the Chick Foley Show, proud member of our Pod Foundation. And that was a lot of fun. It was the first time we had another guest on, and I personally can't wait to have more guests on.
Yeah,
I
get more people.
thought it was great. I loved it. It was a good time.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Hopefully we can get a lot of our Pod Foundation members to drop in, and who knows, maybe some other podcasters will want to come in and bring a debate to the table.
Yeah. And speaking of the Pod Foundation, make sure you guys are following Pod Foundation on Instagram and Twitter, where you can find all things Turnbuckle Tavern, Chick Foley Show, Pyramid Wrestling, and the Extra Cooler Show. You can find 4 podcasts under one umbrella, everything that we have to offer. And you can also get a discount on Chalkline by using code PF10.
Yeah, and where can they find the Wrestling Fig Fed, Tom?
On Twitter and Instagram at Wrestling Fig Fed, and search Wrestling Figure Federation on any of your favorite podcasting platforms.
Hell yeah.
Nice. Well, I am personally excited about the topics that we have for today, and I'm ready to get into it. I don't know if you guys are.
Yeah, let's go.
I'm ready. I can see where you're headed with this one.
All right. Well,
yeah, he's already firing. Look at him.
Yeah. All right. Now, this first topic is, before anybody says it, it was something that was brought up by Jim Ross on AEW last week. So are we stealing this topic?
Absolutely.
100%, because I think it's a great topic. And the topic is Sharpshooter or Scorpion Deathlock. What is the move called?
Tom?
Well, if Sting is using it, it's the Scorpion Deathlock. If anybody else is using it, it's the Sharpshooter.
But if you were to see that move,
if somebody put that move
I think Sharpshooter.
You think
because I grew up watching WWF and I saw Bret Hart do it first. I never watched WCW. I never saw Sting do it up until years later. So automatically to me, I think Sharpshooter.
Well, unfortunately, you're wrong about that because it's the Scorpion Deathlock.
It's absolutely the Scorpion Deathlock.
Because I'm sorry, just humored me. This is Bret Hart. Does he have something to do with a scorpion? And I just don't understand why he would do a move that looks like a scorpion when Sting is the scorpion guy.
That's a very valid point. I never even thought about it looking like a scorpion.
The Scorpion Deathlock has more validity to me than what the Sharpshooter does.
Okay, here's my question. Obviously, this move had been around before Bret Hart and Sting. It's a version of the I can't think of the name of it now.
Boston Crab.
Yes, of a version of the Boston Crab. So it makes sense. Scorpion Deathlock was it called Scorpion Deathlock before Bret Hart started? Oh, then it's a Scorpion Deathlock.
Yeah, actually, the two wrestlers who prolifically used this move before anyone was Ronnie Garvin and Sting.
Yeah,
that was Sting's first move. Both of them, when they were using it in North America, it was called the Scorpion Deathlock. That wasn't a name. I may be wrong, but that wasn't. Sting didn't name that by his gimmick. It was referred to as the Scorpion Deathlock.
Okay.
Actually, Bret Hart, I don't think he used the Scorpion or the Sharpshooter in his tag team days. I believe that was something given to him by Pat Patterson right before his WWE singles run.
Yeah, I don't remember it. I don't remember that in the Hart Foundation.
I don't recall seeing it in any of the tag matches back then, or even when he had a singles match when they were a tag team. I never recall him using it.
Yeah, in Bret Hart's autobiography, he notes that Pat Patterson asked if he could do a Scorpion Deathlock, which he was kind of familiar with from Japan, and he didn't know how to execute it. So he goes into the locker room. The excellence of execution, didn't know how to execute it.
Well, that was my next point.
And this is out of Bret Hart's.
That's a great point.
So you'll never guess the guy in the locker room The only guy in the locker room who knew how to execute this move, which they knew from Japan, called the Scorpion Deathlock, that wrestler who showed him how to do it for the first time.
Can I guess?
Yeah.
Hulk Hogan?
No.
Oh, okay.
Conan.
Really?
Conan. I think it's when he was there doing his Max Moon gimmick.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, like, how crazy is it?
Wow.
That Conan was the man
That's insane.
who showed Bret Hart how to do the sharpshooter. Now, this is out of his book. This isn't me spewing bullshit.
Man, if I was Conan, I would use that. I would talk about that all the time.
Oh, if he was ever in a program with Bret Hart back in the day, that would have been a perfect thing to spit in a promo.
Yeah, especially when they were in WCW together.
Yeah. That's a really good point.
Now, for Tom, I will say, if you're a dyed-in-the-wool WWE lifer and you never watched outside of that company, I could see how obviously that move you're going to say is a sharpshooter.
No, I can 100% understand and see where they would do it. It's wrong.
They're wrong by feeling that way.
Right. It is a wrong.
It's
a wrong
absolutely
answer.
wrong. Yeah.
It's a wrong answer.
But, you know,
But I understand.
It's not the first move to have a different name. Like, you know, Sergeant Slaughter's the Cobra Clutch now goes by the Caracuda Clutch. It goes by, doesn't Shayna have a different name for it?
I mean, there
Yeah,
probably
basically,
are other names for
so-
it, but when you break it down, it's
The
Cobra
$1 Million
Clutch.
Dream was the Cobra Clutch. There are so many other people that use the Cobra Clutch, and nobody ever referred to it as the Cobra Clutch. I see it, and I think there's the Cobra Clutch.
Yeah,
But I would say, okay, here's a difference in what you're talking about and the sharpshooter versus the Scorpion Deathlock. Most moves, I would say, not all the time, but broad stroking a little bit, I would say most moves are typically remembered and referred to by the name that they originated with. You know, like
right.
most of the time. Now, Randy's got the RKO. He's kind of made it his own. But as far as like usually the wrestler who kind of originated, like say, okay, when we see Kevin Owens giving stunners,
Yeah,
I'm thinking Stone Cold Stunner.
right.
Mm-hmm, of course.
You know what I mean?
I agree.
But the difference with these two moves is both finishers for both Bret Hart and Sting, I feel like had just as much validity as the other. And it almost takes it back to the Monday Night Wars where the people who were on WCW's side, I'm sure they were like, that's a Scorpion Deathlock. And then the WWE guys were, no, that's a sharpshooter. Because it's a classic battle.
You just presented facts as to why it's the Scorpion Deathlock, though. You know, like you said, oh, which one is it? Well, obviously it was the Scorpion Deathlock before it was the Sharpshooter. So it's just a name change. And it's kind of funny because the Sharpshooter really has nothing to do with Bret Hart. Like Cobra Clutch sounds like something Sergeant Slaughter would do. The $1 Million Dream, Ted DiBiase.
Right.
You know, so when moves are named, a wrestler changes the name or the promotion changes the name for the wrestler, you know, sometimes it makes sense. In that sense, it doesn't even make sense. Like if they called it the Heart Lock or something, I don't know.
I mean, I guess like
The heart attack.
That's what I was thinking, but that was the other move.
Yeah, with Bret Hart, though, he's the excellence of execution. He was known for being a very technical wrestler, and technical wrestlers sometimes are called shooters.
Yeah.
So
that's a good point.
The fact that he was a sharpshooter, I mean, it's a stretch, but
it's really not that far of a stretch. That's actually a pretty good point.
Here's my question.
It makes too much sense for WWE to put that much thought into it.
You'd think it would be called the Heart Attack or something.
Yeah.
Here's a question though: who else used? And maybe I'm just drawing a blank, but who else used the $1 Million Dream?
Oh, there are so many people that have used that as a finisher. Samoa Joe now uses it. Well, when he wrestles.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember a bunch of people using it.
Didn't Adrian Adonis have a sleeper hold called Goodnight?
Irene. Goodnight, Irene.
Yeah, Goodnight, Irene.
Yes.
I think a lot of people.
But it was just a basic sleeper hold. It wasn't.
Yeah, but I think it was just on the back of the head more than the front was his different.
Yeah, it was a variation for sure.
Yeah, because I mean, because if we're talking sleeper holds, then that Brutus Beefcake.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah. I mean, Roddy Piper. I mean, I never really could figure Roddy Piper as having a finishing move. like one that you think of when you think of Roddy Piper.
So
But
true.
I guess it's like the sleeper is what he used more than not. But he never had a signature move or anything. The eye poke is what I think of when I think of Roddy Piper.
Yeah.
That's not a
He was
finishing
so
move
good.
though.
Yeah, he was so good at the eye poke. But I do kind of associate the sleeper hold with him.
Yeah. I just see him in those blue tights locking in a sleeper.
Yeah. All right. Any final thoughts for this one?
It's
No, you sold me on a Scorpion Deathlock. You presented facts. It's a Scorpion Deathlock, even though to me it was always the Sharpshooter. You just proved me wrong.
I'm still blown away that it was Conan who showed Bret Hart how to apply a sharpshooter.
Yeah, that's wild. And
That's
the fact
hysterical.
that the fact he never talked about it blows my mind too.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
All right, so our second topic of the evening is do heel and face turns have as much meaning as they once did?
No. I would say no, because a lot of the times the fans will dictate that, like, obviously I'll use this for an example. When Becky Lynch attacked Charlotte with the Singapore cane, obviously she was supposed to be turning heel then, and the fans just jumped on it and made her the most popular thing in wrestling for a couple of years in
But
WWE.
hasn't that always been wrestling though? Haven't the fans always kind of dictated?
I feel like back in the 80s, less so than even the early 90s, not as much as now. Like, I really felt it kind of changed when Stone Cold came along.
But when was the last time that we had a huge heel turn?
The biggest one
Or
I
a
can
big
think of,
face turn?
the biggest heel turn in recent memory, I would say, is Roman Reigns.
Or Seth
If you want-
Rollins before that.
Yeah.
But even Seth, he's been heel before. Roman wasn't. So, like,
No, I'm talking
No,
about
talking the initial Shield
Break
oh,
turn.
the initial Shield.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, when he
That
when he
was-
turned
yeah.
on the Shield, I thought that was a good turn.
It was, but it was still, you knew it was coming sooner or later.
Yeah, but you didn't
Like, it
know
wasn't
when. I mean, a
shot
lot
Yeah.
smart fans always know something's
Yeah,
coming.
you
I
know
mean,
it's
most
going
of
to
the
happen.
time.
But
We
when that
knew,
happened,
we
you-
knew
so
what
you
was going
weren't-
to.
when he hit them with the chair, you weren't shocked.
I don't remember sitting there being as shocked as I was when Roman Reigns wound up sitting next to Paul Heyman in SmackDown.
So what has more of a meaning, a heel to face or face to heel?
Face to heel.
I mean, it could go both ways, heel to face. A lot of the times, the most popular heels make the most hated heels make the most popular faces. Roddy Piper, for example, he was hated. And then all of a sudden, he's a good guy, and people loved him. Like, you know, they can never turn him bad again. People just loved him after that.
I feel like face to heel gets more emotion from the crowd. When you turn on, when you're below, like that Hogan turning heel reaction, they were
That's the ultimate. Yeah, I mean, when have you ever seen a ring get hit with debris like that?
right. There's some people
Yeah.
that say a lot of that shit was planted. They had people, but I don't. Eric Bischoff has said different.
It's a lot of trash to plant.
Yeah. And I mean, even the Shawn Michaels kicking Marty Jannetty, that was a big one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest, I would say, in history too.
Yeah.
You know,
I don't know
goes
if
up
I
there.
don't think heel to face, I don't think has as much instant impact, but as far as impact on the company, I think heel to face does a lot more for the business of the company. Because it's going to get more, because that's going to get kids more involved. They're going to like them. They're going to buy more merchandise.
It's true. It's better for the business a lot of times.
So better for the business in that sense, because, you know, when you turn somebody face, the kids are, I mean,
and heels don't traditionally sell as much merch.
Right.
But
I mean, traditionally, some heels just didn't even have merch.
right,
They wouldn't even have merch. I know Jericho, I think when there was some runs where when he was a heel, he wouldn't even sell merchandise.
Yeah.
And thinking about it now, I'm trying to think about some guys who went from heel to face and some shocking ones. And one of the ones that come to me is when Undertaker initially turned face on Saturday night's main event during his first face turn, when he saved Elizabeth from being hit with the chair from Jake the Snake Roberts. That was a very meaningful heel to face turn. But I'm trying to think of other major impactful ones, and that's one of the ones
The one
that comes to mind.
there's one that comes to mind. I think it was at WrestleMania or SummerSlam. Steve, was it WrestleMania?
WrestleMania, I believe 7.
Yeah, it was when Macho Man, the career match with Ultimate Warrior, when he turns at the end with Liz.
Yeah, that was
I mean,
an amazing moment.
I just rewatched that not too long ago, and I mean, it made me emotional.
Yeah,
I'm
when
getting
Sherry,
goosebumps again just thinking about it.
yeah, when the match is over, his career's over, and Sherry's beating the hell out of him in the ring, and Miss Elizabeth jumps the barricade, runs down the aisle, and he's swatting at her, thinking it's Sherry.
Yeah.
And when he sees she's crying.
Yeah, that whole moment, man, is so good. There's people in the crowd crying. I mean, that was a great heel to face turn.
Yeah. Stuff like that. Like that, those are impactful too. And the big moments like that, I think, make either a heel to face or face to heel. I mean, those are what, when you emotionally connect to it. I mean, I think they're both super impactful.
Yeah, they are. They are. I mean, they're amazing, especially, like I said, the Macho Man one. Wow, that was incredible, too. So he's just involved in so many great moments.
So back to the original question, though. Why do you think heel and face turns aren't, I mean, Sneha, do you think they're as impactful today?
I do think they're as impactful. I do, because it shapes storylines. It might not be a huge pop, as huge of a pop as what they were before, but they still dictate and shape storylines. So, when you have somebody, I mean, it is impactful because it's going to, that changes everything.
I mean, I'm excited to see the Inner Circle come out as good guys now, and seeing, I mean, Jericho is one of those guys that was an awesome heel and he's an awesome face. He could do it all. So he's going to have some great promos, and, start seeing him calling the people some of the funny names he's going to come up with again. He's going to be amazing. It's going to be amazing. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah, I am too. I guess I'm torn when it comes to the original debate question, because I think on one hand, they can be as impactful depending on storyline and how it's done. Now, I think a lot of times with WWE, they telegraph their turns. You see it coming.
Yeah.
The storytelling isn't as long a lot of times. Like sometimes like the Roman Reigns thing, I think they knocked out of the park. But a lot of times it's how you do it. It's how much time you get invested in. And that makes the emotional impact of it bigger.
Right.
But I don't know, man. On the other end, I think with social media, and I don't think it'll ever be where it was in the 80s and early 90s with turns, because I feel like with social media and everyone kind of knowing the inner workings of the pro wrestling business and everything like that, it takes some of the steam out of it. When, in the 80s and the 90s, kayfabe was still, I mean, a lot of people knew, but kayfabe was still pretty prevalent with a large portion of the fan base. So I think that generated way more emotion than we can get today, because of, it's so open.
Yeah, I agree. And we're older now too, and I think kids will be impacted by it.
Yeah, 100%.
I was just going to say, how much of it do you think it is because we're not 10 years old or 13 years old watching anymore like we did when we were kids? I think that's definitely part of it also.
Yeah.
So, but a quick question. Really quick, if you could rattle off a name or two, who do you think was the best at working both sides as a heel and a face, other than Jericho?
Other than Jericho,
Macho Man.
Macho Man definitely came to mind.
Macho's up there.
He was great.
Hogan, man. Hogan was a great heel.
But do you know what? The whole time Hogan was heel, I just was like, okay, when is he going back to being red and yellow?
Yes. I wasn't. I really wasn't.
I was loving the heel Hogan. He was great.
I mean, that's another great moment going back to him versus The Rock at WrestleMania.
Yeah, that was
that was huge. That was fun. So
that's another one. Rock. Yeah. Rock was great both ways.
Yeah.
Shawn Michaels was great both ways.
Both ways, yep, absolutely. Yep.
I mean, hell, Bret Hart.
Yeah.
Dude, Bret Hart can say something that Bret Hart, during his major run with the Hart Foundation, he was working both baby and heel. If they were in Canada, he was the baby. If he was in the States, he was the heel. So he was doing it simultaneously.
Yeah, it's so true. Bret Hart was amazing.
Yeah.
So, okay.
All right, moving on. Final topic of the evening. Has WrestleMania lost its luster?
I'm going to say yes for now because of the whole COVID thing. Like last year, I had no excitement for it, and this year I have zero excitement for it. When it gets back to having a whole WrestleMania week, I think it'll get some of its luster back. But I have no interest in seeing a 2-night WrestleMania.
Nope. First of all, I'm going to stop you there because it has lost its luster, and it's not because of COVID. It's absolutely not because of COVID. And it, to me, because to me, one, they're not building big matches anymore. They're not making it the spectacle that it used to be. And now I've never gone to a WrestleMania. And now I can, when I say I want to go to a WrestleMania, it's going because it says the word WrestleMania. I'm not going because they're building something that I can't wait to see in person.
I think WrestleMania is obviously it's the Super Bowl of pro wrestling. It's the biggest spectacle for pro wrestling fans. No matter, I watch WrestleMania, even if I'm not currently up on
and
the
I
products,
agree with that.
you know, like, but the question is, has it lost its luster? I still think WrestleMania is awesome. I still think it's meaningful. I still think fans get excited for it, but I think that is because of the name, like Sneed said, WrestleMania, the brand. It is big because of the history that came before the current one. Now, to me, I haven't been super pumped up for WrestleMania storyline wise in a few years. And I think it's because of the lack of stars.
Yeah.
And not even the lack of stars. So, I mean, the lack of stars is a big thing, but it's the lack of a feud, a big feud going into. Usually
you have no big buildup anymore because there's too many pay-per-views that have too many blow-offs before we get there.
I think it should be the Royal Rumble and then nothing until Mania.
Until Mania, I agree.
I mean, I don't mind the Elimination Chamber to kind of set up the other title match.
Get that out of there too.
Yeah.
Have it
But
after
the Fastlane. We don't need Fastlane. Like,
Fastlane.
what a joke.
Garbage.
Like, but
why?
No, I mean,
why
I
do we even need Elimination Chamber? Because that's setting up. We just don't need that.
In my dream world, we'd only have one world championship, so that's who the winner of the Royal Rumble would face. We wouldn't need to have to worry about a universal title match.
Too many titles.
That's another debate.
That's a whole other debate.
Yeah.
But I mean, but that's just, but yeah, I still get excited for WrestleMania in normal conditions. I look forward to the whole weekend with the Hall of Fame ceremony. I don't care about watching a Hall of Fame ceremony that's going to be in a Thunderdome.
Yeah, but strip away the accoutrement, strip away the NXT shows and the takeover shows and the Hall of Fames. That's all awesome. But I'm talking about the event of WrestleMania. I remember when it was like 3-4 hours. And not every match, they would have those matches because Vince always likes to get everybody in a WrestleMania payday. But, you would have those marquee of attractions that you were waiting on. And I feel like with the roster they have, they still try to give you like a big marquee match. I feel like we're lacking this year, but I feel like with the amount of talent they have, like talented wrestlers, they should be able to build these guys up, and everyone should have a meaningful story going into WrestleMania. It should be a culmination of the year.
But again, it goes back to what you said. They don't have any long-term booking anymore.
Yeah.
It used to be back at SummerSlam, you could kind of see who they were going to be building up for WrestleMania. This year, we're 3 weeks out, and we still don't know if Roman Reigns is going to fight, who Edge is going to fight. Now I'm hearing whisperings that maybe Daniel Bryan wins because The Rock is going to come back to fight Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, which is a huge mistake doing it without a full stadium. Like if
it's not going to happen.
They're not going to do that.
I hope not.
I think it's going to end up Roman Reigns, Daniel Bryan, and Edge in a triple threat.
I don't want to see that either. I'd rather see.
I
hate that at main events of WrestleMania, especially. If you want to do it on a Raw or a SmackDown or a stupid pay-per-view, fine. But WrestleMania, give me an old-fashioned one-on-one match. Don't give me a triple threat match or fatal four-way.
Dude, growing up as a kid, I remember, my family, they never bought the pay-per-views. I was a broke-ass lower middle class kid. We didn't get the pay-per-view. So a lot of when I was really little, I would rent the VHS tapes of WrestleMania. And I still remember going into our local video store, Mr. Video, and looking at these covers. And the cover was always, I remember the Hogan Warrior cover, the Hogan facing off with Sergeant Slaughter. You had these like epic, iconic, obviously Andre and Hogan, where two larger than life figures who we have wanted to see clash are going to go at it. And then they would always throw in some great, technical wrestling matches, whether it was like a Steamboat Macho Man or a Roddy Piper Bret Hart or anything with Mr. Perfect, you know what I mean? Like stuff like that would make the event good, but they always had that one-on-one marquee match. And not to say they don't now, because they do. Reigns is going to have someone. Hopefully it's a one-on-one. Bobby Lashley's probably going to have a one-on-one, but the star power isn't as big today. And is it because I'm older and we were kids and it seemed bigger? Like, are we just being old, jaded assholes here?
I think I wouldn't say that's all of it, but it's part of it. I mean, it's not 100%.
It's definitely part of it, but at the same time, it goes back to long-term booking.
I think,
we don't have it.
100%. WWE does not do long-term booking. They don't build up any dream matches within the company anymore. And they've got a lot of talent in there that's just, guys that could put on great matches and have great feuds, and they just misuse it. They have no clue how to do it anymore. Like AJ Styles is going to be involved in a tag team match at WrestleMania.
And that was just thrown together. Like there was no story to that. It was terrible. Shit like that just is awful for, I don't know.
I mean, AJ Styles has been carrying that company as the wrestler for the last 3 or 4 years, and that's what he's being given at WrestleMania.
I mean, in my opinion, you've got AJ Styles at this point in his career. He's in those like prime time WrestleMania, late WrestleMania 20s Shawn Michael era right now. If I had AJ Styles, I would be, you want to put Bobby Lashley in a feud with someone? There you go. Make AJ Styles an uber baby face going against this badass just monster. Those are the type of, but still, you couldn't do that just how they are. They would have to build it better. They would have to long-term book it. And I think, recently it's not like they can't do long-term booking, because remember the whole Rock Cena storyline was a year in the making.
Yeah.
When they did that thing, they took a year to build that. Why not do that with other superstars?
They don't want to invest.
It makes sense. It makes sense.
Week-to-week booking, man. That week-to-week booking is what I just can't get behind.
When you hear the stories that Vince McMahon comes in and changes a whole show an hour before it, it's hour-to-hour booking. It's not even week-to-week booking.
Right.
That sucks, man. The last part of Mania that I enjoyed is gone, and that's Undertaker.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought it was huge when the Hardys returned. That was a moment.
Oh, that was
like that was a great WrestleMania.
Great.
That was probably I don't even have, was that 3 years ago now? That was a pretty solid WrestleMania. 4. That was a pretty solid WrestleMania.
Okay, since you brought it up, before we get off of here, what, just off the top of your head, what is your last 1 or 2 great WrestleMania moments that you can remember?
The Hardys returning.
The Hardys returning. Mine, I loved the Seth Rollins cash in.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was amazing too.
I thought that was great.
Yep.
That
was running down the stage, that long, ramp, and then getting it and swinging it above his head.
It was so good.
When the fireworks are going
and
off.
That's when he was prime time heel.
Yeah.
That's when he was the best heel he's ever been.
And my brother was there for that.
Oh yeah.
Yep. That was in San Francisco at Levi Stadium.
I even liked the shoot. I lost it.
Wasn't that good?
Yeah.
It couldn't have been.
Oh God.
Wasn't that good moment?
Completely gone. Oh, I don't agree with the booking of it. I know what I was going to say. I don't agree with the booking. I don't think he should have ever lost, but just for the sheer shock moment when Taker's streak got ended.
Yeah.
Yeah, it shouldn't have happened, but I literally, I wasn't an Undertaker fan there, as you may have known, but I sat there with my jaw open and like, what the hell? I didn't want to see the streak end to this guy.
Yeah, I think we all
So-
did.
Do
Yeah.
you write for WWE? Because the way you just went about that feels like how their writers do every week.
Oh, I forgot.
Wait, I had a good. I don't know.
Yeah,
Must not have been that important.
Yeah.
Let's go with something else. That's,
So
That's probably how it's done.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
I would say so.
Vinnie Mac comes in. Vinnie Mac comes into the meeting to discuss Raw, and like, oh damn it, I had a great idea this morning. I don't know what it is. Let's come up with something else stupid.
He had a good idea walking down the hallway, and it was gone.
Yeah.
Well, this year.
That's it. And they
Tear up
Yeah.
the script, rewrite it.
rewrite it. I'm done. So, all right. Any final thoughts before we wrap up?
I'm gonna watch Mania. You know, like,
I'm still gonna, and
yeah.
that's the thing. I'm gonna watch it because it's Mania, but I'm not. The luster of it's not there for me.
I mean, I look forward more to next year's when it goes back to being what it could be, and hopefully they do something right with it. It still
least we'll
feels
have some
special.
people.
It still feels
Yeah.
special when you have the 90,000 people there screaming. Even if the card is not what it used to be, it still has a feeling to it. So
Yeah,
it
it
still
does.
has some. Maybe it didn't have the luster it once had, but it still has a feeling.
I agree. The big larger than life entrances. I love that.
Yep, because it's WrestleMania. Oh, that's what. All right, guys, that's going to wrap us up for the week. Make sure you guys are tuning in on Monday for this show, and then on Thursday for the the actual Turnbuckle Tavern show on Thursdays. Tom, get your when's your show air?
It's now going to be dropping on Mondays. Look for the Wrestling Fig Fed on Mondays, starting this coming Monday. Starting
Correct.
today.
And once again, follow Pod Foundation on Instagram and Twitter at Pod Foundation, and we will see you guys next week.